We were gonna wait a little while to start, but then we started getting complaints from our friend.
Right, guys.
Why do I have to wait for this to start? Well, I actually we were supposed to start at 8, and then I texted Sarah. I was like, yeah, so I set it for 8:15 because I have perpetual lateness. So, but we're here now.
Yeah. We're here now. Welcome.
Yeah, I actually I don't mean to jump right into anything too serious. We'll talk for a minute. I haven't ever had you on my channel before, Sarah. So if you want to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about how you got into this case, that'd be great.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Sarah.
Sorry, what was your name? No, I'm kidding.
What's the name you used? Deborah?
Shut up! Deborah's calling my phone right now. Anyways, go ahead.
So I've been covering this case since the content creator subpoenas. I have a background in like jury research, but it's like academic. So I do like the law stuff, and I do like thinking about this. This isn't the first case that I've covered like with this level, but this is the first time I've ever made content or put anything on the internet. But it was after the content creator subpoenas. I figured people might stop talking about it. I was completely wrong, but I thought people might stop talking about this case after there were subpoenas. So I thought, well, I'll just kind of chime in and say like what I think the jury might do or what I think's going on with the legal stuff. And that was about a year ago. And yeah, I've been here ever since, annoying everyone.
I don't find you annoying, but I just realized that you have yarn in your background. Actually.
I do, yeah.
It's like very zoomed in. I was like, wait a minute. I thought you were sitting in a chair.
Oh, really?
I was like, is that like one of those bean chairs? So yeah. Ricardo says, hi, Miss Lauren. Hi, Miss Sarah. Hi, lovelies. Hello, Ricardo. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. And also Colleen Webster. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. That's awesome. Appreciate that very much. Mods who were in the chat tonight, can you please post the link to Sarah's YouTube channel? It's called Yarn and Order. Frequently, that would.
Oh, there you go.
Cool. Yeah. And we see little girl attorney is in the chat here. If she wants to join us, she's welcome to. But I don't know what she's doing right now. I keep asking her to show more of her dog on her videos, and she doesn't. So I think she hates me.
She just comes in to say, "Where's it live? I'm waiting," and then leave.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the damages claims tonight, but last night, if you guys in the chat were not here, one of the things that I brought up towards the end was like she's setting up some pretty crazy claims. I know we all talked about the claims that she was damaged by not getting money from the sequel, which was an interesting choice last week when Carol from Docket Updates came on and talked to us after the hearing. And then last night I was talking about how her damages expert, Dr. Humphreys, was talking about how even if the jury decided that they ruled in favor of her, she was saying, no, that would still give us damages. We'd have to do a reputational kind of like corrective campaign. And like, first of all, you're once again taking away agency from people to make their own decisions about how they want to interpret what the court says or what the news says or whatever, and trying to punish someone else for it. And second, it's like, who set up people to not believe what the court says? I feel like it was Blake Lively who went on a tangent on Instagram when the ruling came out, basically, and her attorney, Mike Gottlieb, saying this was a technicality. Basically, the courts, they technically ruled right, but they got it wrong. You know what I mean? So like if people don't believe in the law, they don't believe in the courts after you say stuff like that very publicly to your, 40 million plus followers on Instagram, who's really at fault for that? Who should have to pay for that? So
right. And who set that system up? Right.
Yeah. Anyways, what is it, if you want to give people an overview about like what you're interested in with this topic tonight and why you wanted to talk about why you think it's important?
So I think she's going to have, let's see, how do I say this delicately? Let's say she's going to have a hard time with the jury, right? She's going to have a hard time with credibility, but I also think the damage stuff is going to be very, very confusing. There's not a lot of good calculations or citations in her damage awards. And I think she's going to have a hard time saying I got $3 million for this movie. And then also give me $160 million for all this other reputational damage.
I'm so tired of this, like, give me money. I'm like, you
Right.
have so much fucking money. Like, just go away. Seriously, like, how are you expecting to get that much sympathy from New Yorkers who you're pulling away from their low-paying jobs for 6 weeks?
Yes.
6 weeks.
And
like,
that's
hey, sorry, you can't provide for your family. Here's $40 a day or something. I don't know how it worked in New York, but like, and then just being like, by the way, make sure I get more money to pour all over myself.
And that's kind of the thing. Like, I did a video yesterday on like the jury size and how I think juries, what I think, you know, each side is going to want to do with the size of the jury. They'll probably decide the jury and stipulate when they do voir dire. Yeah. So they're going to, and if she gets she's going to want a smaller jury. And the reason is, first of all, you can control the demographics better on a smaller jury. The second thing is a 6-week trial, you're less likely to get working class people because they just can't take 6 weeks off work, and they're more likely to have younger kids, more likely to have be a caregiver. And, you know, it's like you're going to still have to get 6 people. But when you see smaller jury size, you tend to get higher. You can get higher damage awards. So, yeah. So I did a video. If you guys want to see it, it's like 20 minutes on my channel. But it's like what I think they're going to want. I think Wayfarer's going to want a bigger jury. She's going to want a smaller jury. And I think they're going to try and obviously Wayfarer's going to want to shorten the trial. She's going to want to make it as long as possible. Mm-hmm. Although I don't know how she's going to do that without that sexual harassment evidence.
And it's really cutting into my PTO from work, though. I only have so many weeks off per year. Can you please get your shit together?
and it's like, that's 6 weeks that they can't use that courtroom for criminal cases. For like, what are we doing?
Well, I'm going to go to this hearing on Friday, and I'm hoping that the judge will eventually decide to exclude some of the stuff to cut it down. A question I have about, is it voir dire or voir dire? I still don't know.
I say voir dire.
Okay. That's how I was taught in grad school.
And I think that's most of the time it's that. In Texas, I've heard voir dire.
Okay.
So it kind of seems like it's every state has their kind of different things.
I had no idea how long that took. And then Omar told me today, he was like, yeah, that could take like a couple days. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I don't think it could take an hour.
Yeah, I think Lyman's going to do an hour or two the first day of trial.
Okay.
I don't anticipate. Yeah, I don't anticipate this being, especially because he took out so many of their suggested questions. I think he's thinking 2 hours the first day of trial, and then we go right into trial immediately after.
That would be helpful for my sanity.
Yeah.
But no, he told me that, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me, right? Because if it was going to take a couple days, I was like, well, should I even go the first couple days? I should work and then take other days.
I do not think that Lyman's going to allow multiple days.
Okay. I'm trying to sit through like as much of this as I can, but I'm just like, this is supposed to be so lengthy right now that I'm just like, he's got to cut this down, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I sat through the whole court process for a murder trial, and it was 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I was about to ask. Actually, I was going to say, does it take a couple days in like higher profile murder cases?
Not necessarily.
Like, why would it take a couple days? What do you think on that? Like in an exceptional case where it took a very long time, why would that be?
Maybe a judge that's permitting a lot of different types of questions and different types of questioning. I think different judges, like they both had lots of suggestions, and they clearly wanted to go back and forth with adding questions and adding different types of things. And Lyman's just like, I'm not hearing any of it. Each of you he added to his model jury instructions, he added one question from each side, and it was about the amount of damages. Mm-hmm. He's not letting them interview for bias against wealthy people or anything like that. He's not going to let that kind of thing. I think there could be, there was a attack like in Charlottesville years ago, like where somebody drove their car into a protest. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I want to say that was like 2 days, because one of the things that we're doing was trying to suss out some of the political views and bias against certain types, so that's
very complex, I feel like, though.
Yeah. And I think hate crime stuff in general is very complex, but no, it depends, but it depends on the judge. Maybe a judge will be like, yeah, let's do a week-long, a week-long voir dire. It's like Lyman's like, no, we're doing this in 2 hours. I'm not hearing you people talk anymore.
Yeah. All right. So why don't I pull up some of the, I mean, you prepared a whole thing, so I'm going to pull that up here.
I have. This is still my favorite picture from this whole case. This is still my favorite. I think this is the case, and this is one of the biggest problems that I think the jury is going to have with her damage awards, which is you see, like, obviously this like kind of tall peak here on the left is from August of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But then what you see on the right is a sustained negative impression after the lawsuit is filed. Okay. And I think the jury is going to say, it sounds like you had the problem fixed, right? You see this stuff in August, and then things went back to normal, and you weren't being mentioned, and there was a neutral sentiment, and then you filed a lawsuit.
People would have just like this always happens with celebrities, especially like, and I'm not even saying there's not even a bias against like high profile female celebrities. I think they get undue criticism a lot of the time, but it blows away so fast. Yeah. And, like, you got to know by this point in your career, because she's late 30s, and she's been doing this for a very long time. She must have been a teenager when she started acting. And like, you have to know at this point in your career, all you had to do was write it out for a couple of weeks. And if it was like really unbearable and would have had a lasting impact on your life, all you really had to do was issue some kind of statement, or not even an apology, just some kind of statement. And I genuinely believe that if she had just said, you know what, some of the stuff people are talking about was forever ago. I was having a bad day a long time ago. We've course corrected since then. I'm moving forward with my life. I think she would have been fine. Yeah, I agree. She didn't even have to apologize.
I agree. And I think this is one of the things, this is from her own expert report, from Maislin's expert report. Right. And I think this is just this is something that I think the defense is going to point out, which is just this very visual thing of it went away. Months later, no one was talking about it. Now, that's not to say that she couldn't have released a video or released a movie and something would have come up and maybe you would have seen another spike. But you have this sustained thing since the lawsuit.
Did you ever see anything about this movie before the lawsuit came out?
I did see the location share interview.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I did send it to someone, and I said, because I think I sent it to one of my friends, and I said, do you know what question she thought she was being asked? Because it seemed like such a weird answer for the question. Like it didn't even make sense as sarcasm.
I mean, I could see like a really awkward person who has no media training saying something like that and just being like, oh, whoops, I was kind of awkward there. I didn't know what to say. But like somebody who's been around the industry for this long and is trying to sue for millions of dollars in damages over it should know better than to answer that question that way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the other stuff. I didn't see that bump interview until the lawsuit. I didn't see any of the other stuff. I just saw that location share thing, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I just remember it being such a weird statement, because I was just like, do you think she thought she was being asked, like, what if somebody literally walked up to you?
It was a really weird response. Yeah.
I mean, like, I almost thought if somebody said, like, what would you do if a person who's a victim came up to you? I'd be like, do they need help? Is it like an immediate thing?
Yeah, like, but you gotta know that you should have, going into those interviews, you have to know that you should have a hotline number or something on hand.
Yeah, they're looking for a 1 second, or 10-second soundbite. Blake Lively's inspiring advice to domestic violence survivors. You are more than your trauma. That's it. That's what she needs to say.
So differently. Yeah. No, even with that interview, I think the you are more than your trauma thing, I think back to like something a lot of people have complained about is that interview where she says it's not necessarily about domestic violence. I think she's more than that. She could have taken that in that direction.
Right.
Like, you are more than your trauma. You can get past this, and then given the hotline and like totally taken her career to a new level. And instead she was a kind of a dick.
It's very weird. It's very weird. And actually that's a good pivot into the thing I was going to bring up. If you want to throw the contract thing on the screen. There you go. So I covered this when this got unsealed, but I think it kind of bears coming back to now, because some of the stuff that got unsealed earlier this week kind of directly relates to that. So this is between her contract, and this is between I think it's LOL Haida and that's how I'm saying that, and Family Hive. And
that's how you're supposed to say LOL Haida. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that's what it's supposed to sound.
That's what I think it's supposed to be. But also, and the fact that it's LOL Haida and not Blake Lively as an individual is something that's going to be important here. But if we go down here, and I pointed this out when this contract got sealed.
To scroll back real quickly, you don't have to like actually literally scroll, but I mean just like in the conversation. Can you explain a little bit to people who don't follow this stuff as much or have read this document, the difference between her making that claim and LOL Haida making that claim?
Yes, and this is something.
I have to say LOL Haida with a straight face one more time, I'm just gonna lose it.
So this is something that Wayfarer is going to bring up, and I'll bring up their damage argument in the in limine motion for the damages. But basically, when you are an LLC and you are an individual, you cannot sue individually for damages that go to the company. So they are separate entities. So the fact that LOL Haida is not a plaintiff in this lawsuit is legally relevant, right? She can't sue for damages that go to that company. That's kind of the point of having the company. And this does look like it's a loan out agreement. I'm not an attorney, but it looks like it's a loan out agreement where they loan her out as talent to, in this case, Blake Brown, Family
Did she
Hive.
sign that one?
It looks like she did, yeah.
Okay.
But so LOL Haida loans Blake Lively out as talent to Blake Brown, or to Family Hive, which owns Blake Brown, which is the hair care brand. And so I brought this up because there'd been speculations about Wayfarer having a morality clause and getting the rights to the second film based on a morality clause. And there was nothing, Friedman said there's no morality clause, but there is one in this contract.
Okay.
So the morality clause, there we go. Which is basically say
us real quick so you can see that better.
There we go. Yeah. So it's talking about, if there's a felony or crimes or whatever. And then I thought this is a little interesting. Talent commits an act that is reported in at least 2 news publications of stature and reputation similar to that of the New York Times, which justifiably shocks, insults, or offends a significant portion of the community and causes a material and lasting effect on talent's public image or company's public image. And I don't know that this really meets that, that the stuff with the Blake Brown marketing, but it did make me wonder, do we have enough that might meet that requirement? So I had sent you some links to kind of the New York Times press drama.
Right.
And they had brought this up. They weren't too bad. They were just kind of talking about, they don't mention Blake Brown. They're talking about, a little bit about, is the marketing campaign downplaying the issue of domestic violence? Talking about the grab your friends, wear your florals. And then I was looking for, And then I was looking for another publication, because when you're talking about like publications of a stature, you're looking for something called newspapers of record. So really high profile type things. And what I did find was a Washington Post article around the same time.
Okay. That's
much, much harsher, I think. And, she even brought up that quote that you said, as a survivor, I know that she said, this film is, her character is so much more than just a victim of domestic abuse. It's something that happened to her, but nothing that any one person did can define her. Right. But then you go into, her Instagram page has been flooded, and they link to one of the Instagram things, and they call out the hair care thing. One thing they mentioned in this article that I had never heard before is that her hair gets pulled aggressively in the book, and it's like a thing that happens. And I Googled this elsewhere, and people said this happens a lot. He uses her hair as like to drag her a couple times. So the hair care brand, that's another.
I never read the book. I was going to, and then I didn't read it yet. And then all these sexual harassment claims got thrown out, and I was like, maybe I can save myself from reading the book, because I read the cookie dough licking off the spoon scene. I was like, I'm not going to read this unless I have to.
Right. And it's and did you see the film? I haven't seen it.
I've seen it twice. Yeah.
How is it? Okay.
It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen. Let's put it that way. There were some very cringy scenes in there where it's like, this isn't realistic in real life, especially when there's like domestic violence themes around it. And I go back to the rooftop scene, which is a famous scene from this lawsuit where people say Ryan Reynolds rewrote it or whatever, where this woman, Lily Bloom, her father died. She moves to Boston. She's kind of mourning in a way and struggling to do so. And she's sitting on the edge of the roof, like up on this little railing thing. It's not a railing thing. It's like concrete, but she's sitting on the edge of the roof. And then this guy, Ryle, Justin Baldoni, comes through the door, and he's like angry, and he starts kicking the chair in front of him, and like it like throws it or kicks it. And then he's like really upset. And they're total strangers to each other. And then all of a sudden, while Lily Bloom, like Lively's character, is sitting on the ledge, this guy who came out with a rage and was like fighting furniture is like approaching her. And I'm just like, and
she's hello? Like, that's my man. That's it.
That's a dangerous situation right there. I don't think if I were Blake Lively's character and that I would be sitting there on the ledge. So there's just like a lot of stuff like that where I'm like, this isn't realistic,
Yeah. Who knew a guy
Somebody comes
from
out screaming and kicking, or not screaming, but swearing and kicking, and I'm on the ledge of a building, and I'm like, I don't want to die. I'm probably not going to keep sitting on the ledge and be like, come over here, stranger. My
Time
name's
for
Lily
banter.
Blossom Bloom. You're a
Lily
neurosurgeon?
Blossom Bloom? I mean, I guess, okay.
Yeah, that's her name in the book.
And she's a florist. Okay.
So, yeah, I was like, that's the cheesiest thing I've ever heard, but
she went to the J.K. Rowling school of naming characters.
Quite possible. At least they didn't call her Petunia, I guess.
Petunia and Lily, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so this is, there are a couple publications that were giving her some negative stuff. So what came out on Monday was this had been previously sealed, and they're talking about Blake Brown and the kind of the negativity around social media. So okay, when was this? This was November 13th of 2024.
Have you ever tried Blake Brown Beauty?
I have not. I've never tried.
How
was it?
I'm going to show you. Hang on. I did a review.
Okay.
See if I can pull it up real quick. We're going on the Instagrams.
You still have hair, so that's a good sign.
I didn't for a long time, but it had nothing to do with Blake Brown Beauty. That was a personal bad choice. Oh, here we go. I found it.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna kick your thing off the screen.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring it right back. So don't let it leave me. But okay. The sound is on. Promised I'm gonna try Blake Lively's hair care line so you don't have to.
Oh my god! I don't have lesbian pattern baldness anymore. This is incredible. I tried to look at what's in it, but the back of the bottle just said attorney's eyes only. Smells like donuts. This was obviously a parody. Please don't sue me.
Then I got subpoenaed. So
oh my god. She saw that and she said add her to the list.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly.
And her she's got lethal in the name, so it's digitally violent.
Yep. Yeah, that's me. Mrs. Digital Violence. All right. Anyways, moving on to your serious matters.
So yeah, so this came out. This was attorney's eyes only. It was confidential, and now it's they're talking about it. And one of the things they're saying is, basically, hey, we don't have a founder. But they're also talking about the financial impacts. And I thought this was interesting because you're saying Target together, they have to, because they've canceled events and they've canceled launches, that they're having to pay back Target. Mm-hmm. And, and they also put over investment in additional reviews to offset media driven negative reviews. So I don't know if you guys saw on Instagram, Pam sent it to me, but there was a Blake Brown pop-up the other day where they were handing out tote bags with the logo and free products. And this is the kind of thing that they're doing. And I think I emailed you last night and said, I just pulled up kind of the Target reviews. Mm-hmm. This is just copy pasted from there, and saw that some of them are from the Blake Brown website. And
Brown booze bullshit is the title of the document. Just wanted to put that out. Anyways, let's read one of these reviews or something.
So the reviews I saw was, so I looked at the 5-star reviews because I had a suspicion, and they said, it smells really good. The scent is fresh and grounding.
Like donuts.
Right. I'm constantly being complimented. I did notice quite a few of the 5-star reviews mention the name Bergamot Woods, I think is how you say that. And so I was like, this kind of reads like they're getting free product. Yeah. So I go to the website, and that's kind of, you can look at this for yourself, on the Blake Brown Beauty website, but a significant percentage of these reviews are, I got this product for free in exchange for a review.
Yeah, I've gotten some offers like that. I don't know if you've ever gotten one.
I have, yeah, where they send out emails and they say, oh, we'll send you this if, and so, they are having to spend some money, kind of to get this back in people's view in a positive way. Yeah. And, so that's what they're talking about, unable to use founder as the face of the brand to drive awareness.
Right.
Which was clearly, that was their thing. And I do think this is something that, it comes up with all these different celebrity brands, where they're like, hey, you've got to put your face out there. We've got to see you.
Right.
and associate you with the brand in order for this to really work. And so they do kind of talk about the bot stuff. They think that these accounts are bots. And it's interesting because as far as I look at, like, these are not identical comments. They're not.
Does the shampoo also make you a mean girl? So I'm looking at the bottom right.
There is actually, that one is over here too. Does the shampoo also makes you a mean girl? So,
Yeah.
That's the same comment. Oh, never mind. That's the second comment. They just copied it twice in here.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, that's okay. I was like,
examples of harassing accounts with no followers, no posts. The thing is, like, there are accounts out there who have no followers, no posts, don't want to put their face and name out there, and for a reason. It's because, like, if you use your face and name on YouTube, as I know well, people will harass you. Like, somebody tracked down my fucking phone number, like, in the last few weeks or so.
And this is the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I was on social media for 20 years with faceless accounts. Like, I didn't put my face out there. I didn't have my name out there.
No,
that was
sorry.
me the whole time. I'm every bot. Kind of like how Whitney Houston is every woman. I'm every bot.
Every woman. That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
You know, and so there, you know, everyone should boycott these products, entitled people, you know, and I'm just thinking, like, they're gonna have to show this to the jury. And
there are, like, and this happens in my own YouTube comment section lately. There are, like, sites out there to legitimize their services where you can buy cheap bots to comment and boost your posts with likes,
right,
and stuff like that. They will just, like, randomly do that on other posts. They have their bots out there working. So, like, in the last month, I've probably had, like, a couple of YouTube videos. One was related to Blake Lively, one wasn't, where I had, like, a string of comments replying to each other in my thing that were related to, like, some weird banking service. And I was just like, this is like what happens when people use bots. It's
right.
like they're irrelevant comments. You can tell it's not related to the subject matter. And it's like they leave the same kind of comment on every single video. It's like, this is really weird, but it's like an industry of bots out there, but, like,
Yeah.
it's not specifically tailored to Blake Lively that way. If you use bots, a lot of the time it's like they're talking about things that are irrelevant under the post that they're paid to be botted.
And the important thing for bots is that the keywords that they use have to be similar to each other. So if you ever see a TikTok post and everybody's saying, my life was completely changed by this book, you know, 40 Ways to Unlock Your Potential by Bob Smith.
And
then
that's,
you
like, the kind of comment that I'm talking about that I would get, like, on my videos. I was like, I'm deleting this thread, obviously, but, like, there would be, like, 30 comments like that. And I was just like, okay, I guess this could drive engagement, but it's not really good because people could tell that you're using bots if you buy those kinds of comments. I'm like, okay.
And so this is where I think some of the confusion is coming in, because my understanding is that the bots don't really exist to convince people. The bots exist to convince the algorithm. So in other words, when there's 30 comments that have the same book title, the same author, sometimes the book doesn't even exist, but because the TikTok algorithm can see, because it can't see the video, right? Or an Instagram, it can't see what the video is about, and it can't read the picture to know what's in the picture. So what it has to do is look at the comments and say, do the comments make sense and do they correspond to each other in a way that gives us an idea of what the subject of the post is? So that's why all those comments read the same. They don't need to necessarily, and this is what I was getting at, and it's like, I mean, these people are saying, we want Justin's cut of the movie. He actually cares about DV. I just have to listen to Blake and she's a narcissist. And it's like, these interviews are getting played in front of the jury. It's like, are you really saying that because somebody doesn't have any posts on a social media account, that means they're not real? They're not a real person?
Yeah. Right. I mean, Lynn here says, I'm on TikTok with no followers. Yeah, lots of people are on TikTok with no followers.
Yeah.
They don't want to post videos and stuff. Maybe you are just, like, trying to lurk. Maybe you're somebody's mom whose kid was like, watch this video, mom, and you had to make an account. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's a lot of stuff that could be going on there. A lot.
Yeah, and so it's kind of interesting because it's like, again, this is stuff that's going to come up. And are these products also named after an abuser, like your great alcoholic drinks? And it's like, oh, well, that's a harassing comment. And it's like, are they not allowed to say, like, why are you posting about alcohol and domestic violence in the same thing?
No, they're bots now.
They're right. I mean, I guess these ones will say, I mean,
look, some of these accounts, like, they're I'm not saying there's not stray bots, right? I'm not saying there's never any bot activity, but these companies that use these bots, in order to advertise their services and make them look successful, they send them after hot topics. And when Blake Lively went to the New York Times or refused to be photographed with Justin Baldoni at the premiere of It Ends With Us, those were hot topics. So you're going to get bot activity on your trending subject, no matter like if somebody paid for them or not. I don't know if Melissa Nathan ever thought about paying for bots. Really, all the texts that I've seen have shown me the contrary, but you know, it's possible, but it's like way more likely to me that there are just bots that track trending activity that are kind of forcing the company to like deploy their bots that way. You know what I mean? So that the bots stay active and they stay successful, and also so that they have an influence over what happens in trending topics, and they can say, look how we manipulate the algorithm. You should pay for our services. If that makes sense.
Right. And say this is, yeah. And so, I mean, I do, and I want to point out here, you know, they're saying there's, you know, canceled corporate events, canceled consumer events, because they, you know, but some of this is going to be like, well, you guys chose to cancel them, right? And decrease in volume, the suppliers, you don't want it, you know, there's the social media stuff. But then this kind of brings me back to something that I had wondered about for a long time, which is, let me pull up the report. Let's see. Okay, so in Maislin's report, she had, there we go. She had focused on mean girl, bully, and tone deaf. And I was just kind of curious for a while about like, where do we get those terms? Why those three in particular, right? Mm-hmm. And what we now know is in November, we had this exhibit talking about the negative press. And this one is not from Blake Brown. This is from Betty B, we'll say, because both brands are in there. And so one of the things they're talking about is, okay, so we've got some of this negative PR. And this is something that this is going to be hilarious, I think, when this comes up at trial, because here's what Kroger says. Hi, y'all. Quick FYI. I just got off phone with Kroger VP, and the first thing he mentioned was that Betty Boos was discussed in Kroger.
Hang on. Do you do me a favor and hit the plus on the Zoom?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Sometimes people can't see what we're reading. Thank you.
There we go. I just got off the phone with the Kroger VP, and the first thing he mentioned was that Betty Boos was discussed in Kroger's new item meeting. Unfortunately, there's a negative taste in Kroger's mouths based on the Blake Lively interview from the movie, and they said they will be closely monitoring sales on the brand. They are expecting a negative sales impact, and they're wondering what Lively will be doing to course correct and make things right with their audience. So you've got somebody at the time saying we don't like her interview. And my question is, if it's all bots, how is it impacting sales?
What were they saying the smear campaign with the bot activity and all that, what were they saying it lasted until? Was it like 2 weeks or something? Or am I making that up?
I don't know if they have an end date. I think they're just going to decide that in the car on the way to trial.
Okay.
It just seems like
for some reason I thought that there was like a set span of dates, and then I thought they said it picked up again back with the lawsuit. But that actually I might have gotten that confused.
I think she's leaving it open, but I do think that data from that graph that I showed you, I think it suggests end of August. But she was trying to make it ongoing during the lawsuit.
Because I'm looking at this date of the email is September 10th, and I was like, well, that's a long time after the premiere, right? Like a month.
Right. And they're talking about the interview. They're not talking about the comments, and saying our legal ethics and compliance committee board spooked with Blake. I'm working things out.
I wonder if anyone in chat could tell us when Tag PR said they stopped working for Wayfarer or when the contract ran out. I don't know if anybody has that information, but if they do, please let us know.
I don't know either. Yeah, off the top of my head. And so they said, August 28th of 24, they say transparently they want to hold for a minute until some of the Blake Lively chatter can be turned down. Right. So you've got kind of this other, so they're saying the brand is forced to go dark. But here's
to that chart above. That's a wild ass chart. So I'm like, what is this? If I saw my face on a chart like this, I would think I was in a Criminal Minds episode.
But I mean, I also want to point out that it's not like this. It's not like it stayed at, it stayed particularly high. Like, yes, it fell, but see what we have here. So this thing, I don't know if you can, well, let me zoom in. Actually, it might be better if I can do this. I might be able to do this.
Ooh, what are you doing here?
No, that's not really. Do you see this red circle?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the Kate Middleton post. That's where
That's
she
oh.
made an ad, like a fake ad. It was poorly photoshopped to make fun of the fact that Kate Middleton had put some picture of herself out there that was kind of poorly photoshopped.
So I've seen this still, and I've seen people talk about it, but I never saw the actual, like, when that was happening.
So I think I did see this when it was happening. So Kate Middleton had kind of gone dark, and people were saying, oh, her and William are getting divorced. Nobody knows what's going on. Then Buckingham Palace comes out with a statement saying, well, she's okay, but it's not cancer, just so you guys know. And they specifically said it's not cancer. And I think shortly after Blake put this out there, it's poorly Kate Middleton had put a photo of herself and her kids, but it was kind of photoshopped. And people were like, is she dead? And they're hiding her. There was all these jokes. Did she get, my favorite was, did she get bad bangs and she's waiting for them to grow out?
Yeah.
Right. But then Blake posts this and it's poorly photoshopped. And she said, sorry, I've been, like making fun of it. Yeah. And then immediately after, Kate Middleton announces she has cancer. And I'm like, this is the only time I'm going to say this. In Blake's defense, they did say it wasn't cancer, right? Like they did say that.
And why would you come out and say it's not cancer specifically? Right. That to me is like a very weird PR move, weirder than location share. I think.
Right, like it's a weird thing to say. But then you see here, it's like she has, maybe she was rebuilding some of that goodwill, but it goes down to being insensitive again. And this isn't the lowest she's ever been. And this isn't the lowest that this brand has ever been associated with her.
This is not relevant. And I'm going to have to look this up when we're done with this live, but I'm so curious as to why they would come out and say it's not cancer when it was cancer.
I don't know. But they said
it's very odd. Unfortunately for Blake Lively, she didn't play it very well. Let's put it that way.
Thinking about it, it could be that maybe they hadn't told the kids yet.
Well, Blake, you're not going to get sued for defamation, but everyone hates you. How about that?
Yeah. So I mean, it's just. So she okay. So we have
the thing about the kids makes sense.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I do think it was because I think their kids are like early teens or something. So they have internet.
Yeah.
Maybe they were thinking
that's rough.
I never thought of that. That was off the top of my head.
Anyways, back to Crash Out Barbie.
So, but this is what I thought was interesting was the social media impact. So I'm going to zoom in here. So this is what Betty B is saying. And they're not necessarily talking about bots, but what they're saying here is.
Oh, Jenny says you were right, by the way. It was about the kids.
Oh, I'm tuned in with Buckingham Palace. So we have this mean girl, bump references, tone deaf bully, and bump references. Mm-hmm. So this is where what she told her team to focus on.
Okay.
And this is just kind of going back to the thing that I've been saying since these expert things got unsealed, which is that I think a lot of this is just and I think Not Actually Golden did a video on this where she said that part of the reason why this is coming across, maybe she's feeling so strongly, is because she was expecting all of these things. She has this film and it's the largest film of her career, and she has this giant brand launch at Target and this new company with the alcohol, and it's all going so well. And so the contrast from that is what's driving this.
And I was going to ask this real quick. Did anyone in our chat watching us right now, did you ever try Betty Booze or Betty Buzz? Please tell us how that was.
Yeah, I've looked for it, but I haven't seen it anywhere.
Interesting. Okay.
Huh. And I mean, the other thing with the Kate Middleton people is if anybody knows how to drag up every negative thing you've ever done for years, especially on the internet, it's Kate Middleton fans. No offense, you guys. Don't come for me. But, they do that with Meghan Markle, don't they? They bring up every single interview,
I actually don't. So I'm one of the few, I guess, that don't ever pay attention to Meghan Markle. I watch Suits, and that's how I know who Meghan Markle is. But then I always see all this stuff about Meghan Markle, and there's a lot of strong opinions about her. And I'm just like, I don't know anything about this woman other than she married, Prince Harry or whatever.
Yeah, I see negative comments about her from people that I think are kind of pro royal family, and I was going to say, Patty's said Zach Peters tried it. Zach Peters has a video on TikTok.
Zach, yes, Zach tried. I know Zach did. I know he did.
That's only, and so, we see negative comments have plagued our social media, and the ones they're pointing out to is, ones where they're talking Tom Collins. Like, just, why?
Jesus. Really lost any respect for Blake's fandom Blake fandom, okay, after how this movie's been separately promoted from Justin's lovely support of DV victims versus this. And I know this is kind of it's like slightly off topic, but I remember, I'm thinking back now reading these comments to Isabella Ferrer's deposition where Isabella was saying, that basically she thought it was Justin's fault that the marketing was going so bad and they were getting so much backlash. And it was like, Blake, I guess, just told them that it was Wayfarer who was forcing them to market the movie this way. And I was like, my God, that is obviously not what happened. But like, Isabella didn't really ask. She didn't reach out. None of them did. Colleen didn't. Colleen assumed that it was Justin's team who was causing them all this backlash. Isabella didn't. Jenny Slate, I think at that point was probably just like, you know what, I don't fucking like Justin either way.
She's like, I don't even want to be associated with this film anymore.
Right. So like, these people never thought to reach out and ask Justin or Wayfarer, like, hey, are you requiring us to market the film this way? And they just took Blake's word for it that they were not supposed to talk about domestic violence themes, which is fucking ridiculous if you really think about it. So.
I mean, it could also be, like, Isabella in particular, this is her first film, isn't it?
I'm going to clean my camera real quick so I'm going off the screen, but I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is her first film, so it's just, she may just have been like, yeah, this is how it works. I've never done major promotion. I don't know. And so we have, more comments where they say, with Betty Blooms, we wanted to show how special it is when alcohol meets domestic violence. Thank you for sharing the magic. Let's get buzzed, wear our florals, and watch some DV on the big screen with our friends. So inappropriate. You don't celebrate DV for booze sales. Then we do see,
Let's get buzzed. Sorry, that one was funny.
Let's get buzzed. What do we expect from the couple married at a plantation? And it's just so unlike Blake Brown, they're a little bit more they're just saying these are the comments, right? Let's promote alcohol use, promoting an alcoholic drink to get the real life feels of domestic violence. Tone deaf AF. So yeah, and we see it here, tone deaf.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. It might just be my camera, but I was looking a little blurry in the screen. I don't know if it's any better now.
It doesn't look blurry, yeah.
No, then it's probably just my thing.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to point out that like these two different companies both say tone deaf, right? And I think some people have brought up, I think Ken's brought up an article, and Katie and Casey have both done videos on this article where they were calling her tone deaf and saying she's perpetually tone deaf, and that was something that was happening.
From like 2016.
Yeah, this has been going on for years.
People have been digging far back. Like she's not going to escape all those 10-year-old articles at this point. And it's because she went out so public and she's like, see yourself in my story, don't write it off. Okay, but I'm going to do a little investigation. And then all of a sudden everybody's pulling up this shit from 2016 that says you're tone deaf and a racist.
Right. And even going back to, I was talking about the New York Times and like articles during the fallout, this is something the New York Times ran in August of 2024. What It Ends With Us says about the Blake Lively brand. So I don't, talking about she's talking a little bit about the film, but then talking about how It Ends With Us makes a convincing case for Lively as an actress. That's nice, I think. And saying she's telegraphed her ambitions, talking about her brands and trying to tie everything into each other. Reynolds himself is something of a master of shameless cross promotion, talking about his stuff. Plenty of other actors have side hustles. Lively doesn't seem to separate her acting career from her other efforts. Right. She's and then they talk about the promotion. It's a cheery gimmick that seems awkwardly out of step with the context of the film itself, which tells the story of a woman dealing with domestic violence. So it's like, even the New York Times, who obviously then came out and has been defending her ever since, was saying, hey, this is how she is.
That New York Times article about how Melissa Nathan and Tag had been in talks with RFK Jr.?
I didn't. I heard people talking about RFK Jr. and Jed.
Apparently, I guess Tag at one point had talked to RFK Jr. about services where he was wanting to suppress negative articles, boost positive articles, etc. And the thing that came out in the New York Times where they're talking about that was like high-profile American politician wants to use PR services. Is this a headline? No, but it does kind of seem to me like Hollywood Reporter and New York Times and everybody who's super invested as a publication in this, in being right in their like stories like retroactively, you know, is like writing stupid ass stories like this where they're just like, well, RFK Jr. was in communication with Melissa Nathan, so she must have smeared someone for Justin Baldoni. I'm like, listen, I don't care what Melissa Nathan did outside of this case.
They can find
I
out
don't care if
everything
Wayfarer,
except, like,
yeah, if they hired her because they got wind that she was good at her job. I don't care if they hired her. I don't care who her former clients were. I care if they were the type of people who said make up untrue stories about Blake Lively to ruin her reputation, and that's by all accounts not what happened. So,
and that's the thing. The other thing here is like Lively outing all of these people. I mean, I'm never going to accuse her of being forward thinking, but like Lively going after all of these people is, think long term. Just for a minute here, all these people are going to be pissed off that you've kind of put a spotlight on them.
Yeah.
So now you're just going around she makes enemies faster than anyone I've ever met. Well,
I'm sure no matter how you feel about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and no matter how you feel about him, you got, like, I think anyone who's in the chat and watching this has got to admit, it is unwise to make an enemy of a very high profile, powerful Republican politician. It is not a good idea. So making them leak his name, bad call, Blake.
Yeah.
That's just my thought. It's like, even if you love the guy, if you hate the guy, it doesn't matter. You got to admit, like, anyone who's reading that report by the New York Times about RFK has got to think like, oh God, they're not going to like that. Like, people in politics aren't going to like that. That's a whole different realm. Like, you got Hollywood who's already mad at Blake. You got politicians who are mad at Blake. That is oh my goodness, bad move.
Yeah, and it's just it just seems unwise, but it's also like, I don't think it's going to impact Melissa Nathan's career. If anything, they're making her sound more impressive.
Well, Melissa Nathan, no. I think they're just doing her a bunch of favors, honestly.
Right. Apparently, Jed can control the internet and flip all the reviews of everything in 72 hours. So, you know,
oh my gosh, don't tell anyone I'm capable of that.
Right. And it's like, I mean, I think the jury's going to think he's full of it. I think they're going to think he's, you know.
He's not testifying in person, is he?
I haven't seen that yet.
I thought he was a designated deposition. But maybe. I could be wrong about that. Because Jed seems like he doesn't want to show himself too much.
Yeah.
I know Jen Abel is not testifying in person.
Sarowitz isn't either.
I was actually really surprised that Melissa Nathan was.
Well, she's probably the 30B6 witness for TAG. So she's probably the corporate witness.
Did they have to be there in person though? I guess because they're still
a defendant. They're still a defendant. Yeah.
That's why I forgot, because I was thinking like Justin and Steven, that they were dismissed technically from the case, but Melissa Nathan as an individual and her company are still involved, or is it just TAG?
Just TAG, but I think she's probably the corporate witness.
To be there. Okay.
Somebody has to. Yeah.
And who's the corporate witness for Wayfarer? Is that Jamie or Justin?
Heath.
I know they're both going to show up, but
Jamie.
Yeah. Right.
So, okay, so let's go, like, finally, now that I've showed you guys everything, let's go to her damages.
Okay.
Because, so basically, I won't read it. I'll just kind of summarize it. What she's saying is she's basically just throwing out numbers. She doesn't have a good computation of her damages. She decided she was claiming lost profits for these businesses, for Betty Buzz and Blake Brown. But then when somebody pointed out that in the motion for summary judgment that she can't do that, she started calling those exact same numbers reputational damage, which is like, that's not what the expert witness says, right?
Okay.
So if, I've read her damage reports, Robert Kinrich is the damage thing. And I have a live where I went through all her expert reports and showed how they kind of rely on each other like a house of cards. But, it's like they say there's no computation or explanation for how these impressions, they're saying there's millions of estimates and how we're getting to this dollar amount. They're just saying 24 million in reputational harm damages without really giving you any sort of thing. And I think it's basically just based on the idea that she thought she was going to make a lot of money. And she's entitled to assume that all of these, this was all going to do really well.
There's just like between then and now, for her to make that much money, there's just so much that could go wrong where I'm just like, this is so hypothetical.
Right. I mean, Target had boycotts.
Right.
There's also, even stuff like, especially because a lot of this happened after the lawsuit. So it's like, do you have to stop the clock in December, like December 20th. Yeah, so they're talking about, like 176 million impressions of the terms bully, mean girl, and tone deaf. Well, remember, that's due to AI, so I don't...
Well, yeah, the thing with these, I'm really interested to go to the hearing on Friday.
Yeah.
And to hear the social media experts speak, because I'm like, so much of this seems like a junk science to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand at this point. If you say AI to me in a professional setting, you better be talking about something very basic, because I still know how much like of a mistake AI makes every time you put in a prompt. And so I'm like, you can't actually hinge someone's livelihood and hundreds of millions of dollars upon AI systems that are untested, that have never been used in a case like this before. And honestly, like I said, in my opinion, constitute junk science. So like it's if the jury were to award her damages based on her claims, I think, you know what, that's fine. That's how they performed in front of the jury. I don't agree with it. But if they were to award her these kinds of damages based on an AI program, that would be a huge problem, in my opinion, because AI, I think, is a good tool in a lot of respects. And I think that's very helpful for a lot of things. But I also think it's ruining lives in some industries. It's displacing jobs. It's just wrecking humanity in some respects. So with AI, it's like, I understand certain practical uses.
Right.
I think of AI as a good search engine to find sources and to point me in the right direction. But AI is like not something that we should be basing human lives off of, I don't think.
I mean, this is a person saying I want $40 million because AI told me that I'm owed it.
That's fucking nuts.
I mean, and that's
I bet you I'll bet you right now. Not tonight, but I can get AI to tell me I'm owed $40 million for some reason.
You should do your experiments and report back.
I'm gonna tell if I can get AI to tell me that I'm owed $40 million for some reason, Sarah has to buy me a pizza.
Okay, I'll do it. I mean, and this is the thing, like, it's also like, this is what doesn't make sense to me. So it's all fake accounts that are leaving the comments, and then real people are not buying the products because of the comments. But the comments that they fell for are definitely bot comments that nobody could have come to organically. So every single person got tricked by a bot comment. None of this is legitimate. But then also the people that stop buying the products, those are real.
Yeah,
obviously, because they're not buying things. Bots don't buy things.
Right.
So is it like her contention is every single person was going to buy my hair care brand. I gave an insensitive interview, but they got tricked into caring about the insensitive interview because of AI. Yeah. And also ignore all the industry professionals saying, when is Blake going to fucking apologize? And ignore Sanford Panich calling her a terrorist. Because they don't count. Maybe they're also bots. I don't know what the logic is.
So both Sanford Panich from Sony and Giannetti from Sony called her a terrorist. Is that right?
Yes. And more interestingly to me, Ange called her a terrorist after that January 4th meeting.
Right. On separate occasions.
Yeah. Months apart.
Multiple reps from Sony, a high-profile distributor, is saying this lady's a terrorist, and there is no way other than her way. There's no way to negotiate with this person. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And you want people to believe that you were damaged reputationally so bad by being called a mean girl?
I mean, and somebody put in the comments here, it says, the jury may be part of the smear campaign. And I did notice that they said that. Right. They did say, like, what if the jury are passive participants in the smear campaign? You know what's a really good idea if you're an attorney and you're going to present in front of a jury? Is to tell the jury that they're too fucking stupid to come up with their own opinion.
Right.
That's a great move. You should definitely do that.
That's the whole thing with this lawsuit. And I was just talking to somebody about it. I was like, her whole premise for all of this is like, it's based on people being too stupid to come up with their own opinions. Basically, her telling people, you either love me or you're dumb. And I'm just like, that is the worst possible way that you could go about this. So.
Oh.
You good? You froze.
Yeah, my thing just, hang on, sorry.
Oh, you're good now. Make sure I didn't miss any here. Ricardo Holt, thank you for the $2. Flake and Crying are just awful people. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. Thank you. I don't know where she went, but I am waiting for her to unfreeze.
Okay.
Sorry. There you are.
That was me.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was waiting for you to unfreeze, but I was just looking to see if I missed anything that we wanted to talk about tonight. Let's see.
So I just really quick. Okay, so because I know people have probably questions about the damages stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, she just put out a bunch of numbers. They're not talking. So only one of her experts is talking. So this will prepare you for Friday. Only
Which
Humphreys, Ashley Humphreys.
Humphreys is the one I was talking about last night with the. Go ahead. We'll get.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, so she's talking about reputational harm. The others aren't. They're talking about lost profits.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't put up enough information to justify the reputational harm damages. And then this goes back to the LOL Haida, which they bring up here as well.
LOL Haida is never going to get less weird to me.
right. And then the other thing is her damages are still including the Brian Friedman stuff.
Oh God!
Which is no longer a cause of action.
That's not a thing. Yeah.
So there's $24 million in there. That's not, you don't have a thing. And then you were talking about the reputational repair campaign.
Yeah, that's it.
And she's talking about that's because of those Friedman statements that got thrown out. So it's like, I think that's gone.
Right.
And then the big thing is she can't sue for Betty B because she's only a shareholder. And she can't sue for this LOL Haida because she's not LOL Haida legally speaking. They would have to both be plaintiffs.
Why do you think she didn't include LOL Haida as a plaintiff?
I think that she didn't want to bring in this information.
Okay.
I think she didn't. Yeah, I mean, I kind of said that the weirdest thing that has happened to me in this whole, from my perspective in this whole case, is her withdrawing the emotional distress claims. Because if you see here, and I don't know if anybody got this far in it, but one thing here, the garden variety emotional distress is something people kind of talked about, but they are asking that the court limit her for emotional distress to $30,000 because that's typically around the level $5,000 to $30,000 is typically what you're awarded because you were a bit sad.
Right.
And that's how much
only we all had the money to sue for being a bit sad, because the thing is your lawyer fees will well exceed $30,000.
They're going to spend $30,000 replying to this.
The garden variety emotional distress claims at this point, they're like a badge of victim honor to Blake Lively. It's like you could say they emotionally distressed me. They distressed me emotionally, but like it's like she's losing money on this claim. No matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like, she doesn't have, so they're saying we want to cap it. So pay attention to see if they cap that. And then, we've got punitive damages, but we'll get to that if we get to that.
Here's the problem with any other kind of emotional distress claim, of course, is that you have to produce medical records, and they would be able to, be able to depose, or not even depose, or just like talk to the therapist or the medical providers.
They would be able to get their own expert witness to interview her. And I think, but that's where the money was. And I think Ron Zambrano was on Popcorn Planet when she withdrew those. And he was saying, that's the money. This is less than a 9-figure settlement now.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just, and so this is something to pay attention to, though, is like, she doesn't have standing for the lost Betty B stuff, the alcohol stuff. She doesn't have standing, she doesn't have standing for the Blake Brown. So what are her damages exactly? Is it the $30,000? And
I guess, well, I would, if I were them, I would say you can have 30 grand and we'll go away.
I mean, she's probably spent 40 million on fucking legal fees.
Yeah, I heard 50 million. But I don't know, to be fair, that's, hearsay. I don't know for sure how much was spent on her legal team. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors going around here and there about her possibly paying her lawyers on contingency, and I was like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think that's likely.
I don't think that tracks. I can't imagine these lawyers would do this kind of vigorous, disgusting work, like violating the rights of random people for a contingency plan. But I think that she probably has, as Billy Bush, I think, was the first person to say it, spent close to 50 million on this kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, and I mean, if you saw the Judd Wallace filing she just did, she said she had spent $800,000 in legal fees just on the Texas case.
I didn't go through that with everybody here, so can you tell me a little bit more about that? What was the filing?
She is filing for those 47.1 damages against Judd Wallace.
In Texas.
It's in Texas.
Okay, so she's trying to use a new California Me Too law for sexual harassment victims, basically, against a stranger she's never met or talked to.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm sure Texas is going to absolutely just love this. And I think they're going to say, yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
let's sign this.
If you're somebody who's like been, if you're a minority or somebody who's been harassed in some way, don't go to Texas.
Right. Right. I'm sure Texas is really excited.
In this case, Texas is a perfect venue. Blake, you should definitely fight this in Texas.
Absolutely, right? Texas
Yeah.
is just going to love this. A Texas jury would absolutely love her walking in with those fucking red shoes that I know she's going to wear.
Yeah.
I know she's going to do it. Blake, if you're watching, and I suspect you might be, don't wear the red shoes. I know she's going to do it.
Some people in the chat may have never seen this because this was a long time ago now, but apparently when she was in Texas for the premiere of Another Simple Favor last year, remember she had allegedly harassed that woman in the hotel.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, out there. So she doesn't have a great reputation in Texas, I don't think. I mean, I know she was out there for the premiere, but then she stayed at a friend's hotel, I guess, a little bit away, and this woman who saw her in the lobby, I guess, took a video of her, and I saw the video, and her, you can hear her voice in it and everything, and it's her. And then I remember my friend Colonel Kurtz at the time had confirmed with I think it was I don't know if it was a bartender there, or if it was somewhere else, that she was there and that she was staying there. So I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. This lady's not crazy. She's not making it up. But apparently she had been like really weird and abrasive with her, and like come after her for filming in their hotel. And I was like, there's a whole argument to be made about whether or not you should film someone in hotel lobbies. Personally, I wouldn't.
Right.
But she allegedly chased this woman out to her car.
Right.
Like, well, you guys both suck at that point.
Right. Like, what are we doing? Like, she has a tendency to make things worse.
I mean, she could just left it alone, and people would have thought that lady was crazy for filming her in the hotel lobby.
You know, and well, and it sounds like
loves to make things suck for herself. I don't know.
There's no situation that we can't make worse, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that's something to keep in mind. Lost profits an amount of $71 million subject to expert testimony. And it's like, you don't have standing to claim lost profits for either of these companies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like lost profits between 39.6 million and 143 million. I'm sorry, where are we just throwing out numbers? Like,
apparently.
So yeah, I mean, it's like, so that's what they're gonna, you know, if it goes to a jury, that's what they're gonna argue. They're gonna say everyone on the internet is a bot except the people who didn't buy the product. They're real, but they fell for the bots.
Are you a bot?
I am definitely a bot. I'm a very complicated AI.
Yeah.
That's why I talk about yarn, because I feel like I need to have human hobbies, but I never actually use the yarn on my channel because I don't know how to.
I was a bot, but I couldn't get along with the other bots, so they kicked me out.
They
now
kicked
I'm
you out?
here, and now I live here in this screen. So
yeah. So, I mean, the damages thing is, I just, what?
There's a lot here that she's asking for that just doesn't make sense. And like, I go back to the sequel thing where it's just like, how dare you drag these people through the mud the way you have and then ask for millions of dollars for this sequel? And it's crazy.
And it's because she's realized, hey, these are not damages you can claim. So now she's like, well, I have damages over here. Justin was totally going to put me in the sequel.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, he's like, God forbid I have to interact with this woman.
And then they use that like nice comment that Justin made during press where he says, oh, I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. Ma'am, you're not ready to direct him. Like, you already did that. So please leave him alone.
I mean, and that's the thing. They're going to bring that up and they're going to say he was sincere and he meant that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you can be sincere and mean that, and also it doesn't matter because you don't know if Sony would have been okay with that. You don't know if Sony would have been okay with her being on the project if they call her a terrorist. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's so much more that can go into that. I think Justin was trying very hard to be diplomatic at that point. Not even just diplomatic, but even like just trying to do the project justice and trying to do service to the project that he worked so hard on. And it's like he said some things that she could point to and be like, oh my God, see, even Justin loved me. Like,
can you imagine?
This man was clearly in distress.
Can you imagine her saying that this offhand comment he made to a reporter should be taken very seriously and used for millions of dollars in damages, but her asking about sharing her location should be disregarded and only bots care about that?
I actually can imagine that.
I actually can too, now that I think about it. Yeah, no, you're right. She can. Yeah,
there's a lot going on there.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah, I mean, I don't even know, they're asking for bifurcation, and yeah, that makes
Can
sense.
you explain what bifurcation is?
Yes. So bifurcation, what they're asking for here is that they are going to decide that they're asking for the jury to have kind of two separate parts of the trial. The first part is where they decide if Wayfarer is liable, or It Ends With Us or TAG are liable for any of these claims.
Okay.
And then they're going to decide if they're liable, and then they're also going to hear compensatory damages at that time. And then the second part, it's like a second thing for punitive damages. And this is where, so compensatory damages are to compensate the plaintiff for their injury. Punitive damages are to punish or deter the defendant. So one of the things that you need to know is, what is the net worth of the defendant? What amount of money is going to be a good deterrent effect or a good punishment effect?
Yeah.
So what they're asking is that both of these things aren't considered together.
Okay.
So first we decide if Wayfarer is liable, and then we hear about if Sara is a billionaire. You know,
They decide on that yet? No.
they haven't. No, he's probably going to rule on this at that hearing.
Okay. I'm expecting. I don't know. It kind of sounded like he was going to leave most of the motions in limine for trial.
Yeah.
Motions in limine, if you guys don't know, is like they're trying to exclude certain evidence or certain experts from testifying, like Kirsty Flaw. He reported that mostly everybody who's watching this is going to know the congrats on your little bump interview.
The bump lady.
But the bump lady is right. The bump lady, right? And so they want to exclude the bump lady interview, right? And so they want to exclude a whole bunch of other stuff. Both sides are trying to exclude the other's experts. I don't think anything is like not being argued to be excluded. I mean, that's just how this goes, I guess. But as far as the motions in limine, I don't think the judge is going to rule on most of them. I think until trial, that's normal, right?
Right. He will probably decide some of these on the way. He might decide Kirsty early on because she'll have to go out there to the trial and all that. I do think, and he'll probably address the bifurcation beforehand as well.
I'm wondering if he'll talk about any of this stuff on Friday, because I'll be out there. And I'm like,
I could see him bringing up some of the in limine motions and also the bifurcation on Friday.
I know they were going to talk about because they filed a motion to try to respond to the stipulation issue, and he said no, we'll talk about this at the expert hearing. So I'm going to get to hear about that. But
yes,
but the stipulation, I guess Wayfarer is saying the jury can presume that Miss Lively engaged in protected activity, such as like making a report that she felt harassed. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. So basically there has to be three parts to the retaliation claim. The first is protected activity, the second is the adverse employment action, and the third is causation. And they're conceding the first one.
Okay.
So I've seen people kind of debate, is she able to argue that? I've never seen anyone argue against a stipulation from the other side, but lots of things.
She's going to try to. I mean, her lawyers do the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But like, to be fair, I'm not in the legal field, so I haven't seen stuff like this before. But just the Van Zandt thing, the content creator subpoena, this now with the arguing against the stipulation, it's like, don't you want them to stipulate that she engaged in protected activity? Why would you not want them to stipulate to that? And to me, it seems like because they want to make him look really shitty with all the kinds of stuff they could bring up, they didn't stipulate. And so it just looks bad, in my opinion, for them, because it's like, well, now that kind of ruins your case where you depend on them not, wanting to bring up this element of the claim in order for you to win the case. And it's like, you don't really have a very strong claim, in my opinion, if that's what you have to argue against. It's like they're giving you what you want, and you're like, no, we don't want that. We don't want that, judge. We don't want that. So like, what is your problem? What exactly are we trying to do here? And to me, it feels like more of a reputational thing than anything, where it's like, we want to destroy him on the stand before we get to the end result, and just make sure that everything we do ends him.
Right. And that's the thing. And so, if Wayfarer has stipulated, then the argument for Lyman, the argument that they'll make and the argument that Lyman's going to hear is, this is, first of all, you no longer need the sexual harassment because they have conceded this. So there's no fact issue for a jury. Mm-hmm. And then the sexual harassment stuff, there's a rule 403 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, which is that it's more prejudicial than probative. You don't need it. The jury will not need that sexual harassment evidence to address any question, because we have conceded that we've stipulated that the protected activity occurred. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think she's going to have an argument. I don't know if she can say no, because if they're conceding it, there's no longer a fact issue for the jury to
I guess I'm going to find out, man. I mean, I'll be out there and hopefully I won't have to wait in front of the courthouse the way I did the last time. Because when I went out there last time, it was like, I was waiting out in front of the courthouse even though I got a line sitter at that time, because somebody was very nice and helped me out with that. One of the viewers, she, helped me out with that. And I got up there and I was like 8:00. when the courthouse opened. I felt like I was sitting there for an hour and a half, and you don't have your phone or anything, and you're waiting for the courthouse doors to open. And I was just like, I miss Candy Crush, but they take all your electronics. So Omar says, hopefully Lawrence.
You should.
Hotel won't
You
be
know what you
haunted
should
this time.
do?
Thanks.
You should bring a mahjong set and see if Blake was there and she'll play with you.
Yeah, I don't know how to play that game, but sure.
She'll teach you.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you go into the court, it's like you're like sitting there forever, and it's like there's nothing to do other than talk to these million other people in line. And I'm like, I'm this way on the internet, what you guys are seeing right now. I'm very reserved in person. So I was just sitting there like, these people were coming up to me being very nice, and I probably came across like such a dick. I was probably just like, oh, okay, who are you? You know what I mean? Like what I meant to say was, who are you? I feel attacked. So like, there's just a lot going on there, but it's going to be interesting going back to the courthouse and all that, and waiting and seeing what the judge comes up with. So I think it's worth it to me to like go through all that and wait and whatever. I'll have to like maybe I'll bring like one of my word search books or something this time, so I have something to do. But it is a very weird experience going up there and sitting through all that.
I was gonna say, yeah, you could bring yarn. You could crochet something.
Oh, Shorty says I was nice. Thank you. You were actually not the first person to come up to me, and so I think that helped, because the first person who came up to me, what I meant to say was, oh my gosh, thanks, you're so nice. But what I said was, who are you? So yeah. Anyways, do we have any more slides to go through?
I don't think so. I'm just gonna look through everything really quick.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much. I mean, I guess the only other thing. I did see somebody talk about I then went over this when I did my expert witness things. If you want more like of the morality clause stuff, but in the Betty Buzz thing, there is not a lively morality clause, but there is a Ryan Reynolds morality clause.
Why is that?
They are both shareholders.
Oh.
So I'm guessing that her being the spokesperson is kind of priced in. Like they kind of know.
It probably helps then that he's now publicly out there in text messages saying the Sony exec's balls were in his mouth. That ought to help sales. Maybe if they moved into the lube market. I don't know.
I mean, they're not selling any fucking beverages, so I guess they could pivot. But yeah, I mean, it's still, so it's kind of the same thing. A Reynolds morals clause violation, if if he does something that causes shocks, insults, or offends a portion of the community and causes a material or lasting adverse effect on Reynolds' public image or the public image of the company and its subsidiaries.
Yeah.
So, will the Darvo expert be needed now? I don't think the Darvo expert is coming in, because if they've
go ahead, you finish first and I'll go.
Oh, sorry. I don't think she's coming in, because I don't think that the environment is now harassing. Like there's no evidence that you need for that. They don't need to put that in there.
We'll stipulate to that. No, Your Honor, we don't want them to stipulate to that. We want to bring in the Darvo lady.
Dr. Darvo.
Well, that's the whole thing with the Darvo lady is, like, I feel like she can be, like many experts who are paid to do these things, she could be a wonderful person to her clients. She can be good at her job. She can be a very wise, intelligent person, and a million other good things. But in this case, to me, she is just inappropriate. She's not a licensed psychologist. She's not a licensed therapist. She's making conclusions that a psychologist or a therapist should make based on clinical interviews with people and clinical testing that she did not conduct. She's never talked to these people. Maybe she texted with Blake Lively. Maybe she even met Blake Lively. I'm not sure, because I only know what's seen in the documents.
Mm-hmm.
From what we've seen, she never met with Blake for the purposes of being an expert in her case. She never did an evaluation on her. It is highly, highly inappropriate to apply the sort of research things that she can validly come up with to a specific case. That's where it becomes a problem. She can come up with, a million amazing theories that kind of explain the pain and the suffering that women go through in the workplace. But when she, as someone who is not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or a licensed therapist, decides to apply that to public figures, celebrities, in a certain case like this, and gets paid for it, she is nothing other than, in my opinion, a very educated person speculating on the internet.
And yeah, I mean, and I think too, I made a video on this. If you guys are gonna, please subscribe to my channel if it's interesting to you.
You have a YouTube channel? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even know how I got here.
No, mods are putting the link up.
Oh, thank you,
Sarah. There.
But yeah, I did a video on the expert witness. I called it the expert witness dilemma, which is like she didn't read the PGA letter, so they're gonna use that against her on the stand, and they're gonna say, you know, did you read this document? And if she's, you know, it's like, do you think Blake Lively's words about how she experienced the set are important since you've never clinically examined her? And what is she going to do? She's either going to say, yes, it matters, so I'm changing my analysis, which she's not going to do, or she's going to say, no, it doesn't matter. And then the jury is going to be like, well, then why didn't they show you the letter? Seems like that would be important for you to know what she was subjectively feeling. So I think they screwed her over. I don't, you know, I feel bad calling her Dr. Darvo, but I mean, she is like,
I mean, if I say Dr. Fried over and over again, I feel bad as well, though, because then I'm just slandering. I'm like, not slandering because it's true. Like, this is my honest opinion. And I'm not saying anything that's factually incorrect, but like, I'm just like hanging shit on Dr. Fried. And so if I say Dr. Darvo, it's like, that's the context of like her in the context of this case versus like saying Dr. Darvo is just like, I'm not trying to like sling mud at Dr. Fried in like her everyday life and job. I just think that she took this job and did what they asked her to do, but it was inappropriate for the context of it.
And I think they cherry pick, you know, they did what they do. They said, if we just give you a small portion of the information, you're going to come to the conclusion
she never saw the PGA letter, which is a huge red flag.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, Blake cherry picking things? I'm shocked. That's never happened, not one time in this case.
I would say like it's possible that her summary was accurate based on the limited information she was given, but the limited information she was giving was a whole steaming hot pile of donkey bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, not even bullshit, but like donkey and bullshit mixed together. So
like, and talking about Sony for half the time, talking about Sony contributed. Sony's not a defendant. The jury's gonna be thinking, should I be blaming Sony right now? And then Angie's going to say, yeah, Blake's a fucking terrorist and she hijacked the thing. And they're going to go, oh, that's why you think Sony is the bad guy. Right.
I have to tell you something that's juvenile. Okay. I was reading my comments from last night, and I don't read all the comments on my videos anymore because that's a recipe for mental health disaster, but like, I read some of them. Okay. And I saw this, this comment that was talking about all these documents that just came out because that's what I was going over last night. And it said, I had no idea this latest dump would be so juicy. And I was just like, thank God I knew the context for what you're saying right now, because that would have been so weird. But then it got worse because a couple comments under that, two totally different, unrelated people, the comments, like a couple comments under that said, I can't wait for everything to come out. And I was just like, guys, what are you doing? What are you doing to me right now?
I mean, you have to have a sense of humor about something at this point, because I can't believe we're here.
In case you missed it, I'm Lauren Neidigh. This is an educational podcast.
Absolutely. This is very serious. This is a very serious topic. Somebody said we should have a podcast. I saw a comment.
Oh my gosh. Oh, really? What should we call it?
Oh God.
I don't know what we would call it. All right. If you don't have anything else to pull up on the screen, I'll just move it. But
yeah. I'm good. I don't have anything.
There we go. It's just the two of us. Let me see if there's anything we need to answer in the. I know who you're talking about. They were talking to me. Oh, okay. I'm surprised Blake is still doubling down on everything, knowing what everyone knows. Now, I mean, I guess like what else can she do other than admit that she was not entirely truthful? And this is something that came up in my conversation with that reporter I think I told you about from the Times of London the other day, where she was asking about my opinions. And I said, you know, when it comes to Blake, she can't tell the truth, or it shows how unreasonable she is, and then people are going to hate her forever. And so she's fighting for her life here. It's just that she did what she's accused of, in my opinion, which is slandering the Wayfarer parties and not telling the truth. And so I look at things like the circumcision conversation, where she said, and Sigrid Macaulay have said that Justin Baldoni felt comfortable describing his genitalia to people in the workplace. And I think you guys left out not just some of that story, but almost all of it on purpose to try to make it sound bad. And that's doing so much damage to victims who come forward, because it's like there could be so much more to the story than we realize. Because look at Blake Lively, fucking mega superstar, who came out and even she was lying. Even she wasn't telling 98% of the story. So how is the everyday average person with no support supposed to think they could come forward in our legal system and be believed? There's just so much going on here that's like, it's terrible.
Right. And I think in the future it's going to be, you know, is this another Blake Lively situation? And it's like,
Right.
you know, the reality is no, probably not. Like almost certainly not statistically, right? But it does suck that there's this case.
Did you watch oh, go ahead. You finish first and I'll
Oh no, go ahead.
Did you watch Johnny Depp Amber Heard?
I did not.
Me neither.
Yeah. I get a lot of requests to talk about credibility and her stuff, and I just kind of stay away from it because
Sorry guys, I have like a weird delay on my screen to where sometimes you'll start saying something and it's like 3 seconds after you started saying it, or not. 3 seconds, that's all. So I'm just like, I'm interrupting you.
No, you're good.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. I've never really watched that case in full. Obviously, I saw the headlines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know people personally who fall on both sides of that dispute still, even after all the trials. And I hear people all the time compare him to Johnny Depp, especially because Melissa Nathan, you know, was Johnny Depp's crisis PR person or whatever. But like, I don't feel like even with the limited knowledge I have, I'm like, I know enough to know that I don't feel like these cases are very similar, but they're being brought up in a lot of the same circles.
Yeah, I don't think they're similar either. I mean, just from the surface, the big thing is, from what I understand, and please don't correct me if I'm wrong because I don't want to get too far into this. But
I didn't watch the trial, so I can't.
Yeah. So I mean the commenters, not you, the chat. But I mean, you know, they're talking about an interpersonal relationship. They were married for years. There seems to be substance use and erratic behavior on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
That's different than this, where you basically have witnesses and in some cases camera for a lot of these things that happened, right? You have witnesses, you have documentation. Everybody is documenting everything. Everybody is witnessing everything. This is just, there's very few details of this case that we don't have a reliable witness somewhere for. Whereas in the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp stuff, it's like, hey, do you guys remember an argument you got into 5 years ago when you were both drunk? Tell me about it, you know? And it's like, well, who do you believe? And, you know, but this isn't like that. This is like, let's watch the camera footage of what happened between these two people.
Right.
It's very different just because you don't need to rely on personality and credibility as much in the same ways, I guess.
Yeah. I just felt like there's so much history between Johnny and Amber that went into that, and like an actual situation where they lived together.
Yeah.
They knew each other possibly better than anyone else knew them at some points in their marriage. And it's just like so different than Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, who were basically strangers outside of working together. They didn't go home together. They had separate families. There was never any sort of violence accusation per se,
right? And it's just they texted each other, so we have that. They were in, you know, they were rarely alone in a room together even,
right?
You know, it's
thank God, because she makes up crazy stuff. But
it's like every single, you know, there's not anything that you can say, well, this happened privately. It's just, so I just think it's very different, because you're not necessarily needing to say, you don't need to think Baldoni is the best guy in the entire world to kind of take that side. And that's kind of the thing. I personally don't think that there's necessarily like a team Justin and team Blake thing. I think there is a team Justin, team Blake, and team anti-Blake. Okay. You know, where they're not necessarily defending Justin or saying that he's a great guy, because they don't care about him because he wasn't really famous before this. They maybe didn't know who he was.
I knew who he was from Jane the Virgin, but I was team. I don't know if you guys in the chat, if you've watched Jane the Virgin, there was like Raphael, Justin's character, and Michael, the other guy's character, was in a love triangle with Jane, obviously the main character, and I was always on team Michael. Sorry, Justin. It's not that he did a bad job in his acting role. I was just like, I really liked Michael, so I couldn't help it.
yeah, and I think some people that are invested in calling Blake out are not really like, you know, team Justin. They're not like, I'm gonna go watch everything Wayfarer does now, you know.
It's like weird timing for me, because I had an ex-girlfriend who made me watch Jane the Virgin That was in June 2024, so that was 6 months before this lawsuit came out. So if that had never happened, I would have no idea who Justin Baldoni is. I was like, I would be like, who the fuck is this guy? But I had a little bit of an idea because of that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting that
I had seen that interview, but I didn't know who Blake Lively was. I didn't associate her name with that interview about the location share, which I think is kind of interesting that I'm not super tuned into celebrities, and I did get that interview, you know.
Sure.
I saw, I think I don't know where I saw it even. But I didn't know, I'd never seen Justin Baldoni before. Yeah. I knew who Ryan Reynolds was because of Deadpool. So
who's Deadpool? I'm just kidding.
I wonder if they're going to make a sequel.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll find out. To be honest, like, so do you watch Deadpool movies? Do you watch them?
I saw the first one. I didn't see this latest one, the Deadpool and Wolverine.
Did you not like it?
It's the same kind of humor every time with Deadpool. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you just heard my humor about the dump, so it's like that was my brand of humor.
Yeah, sure. but it's like there's a difference between like that occasionally and like a whole hour and a half long movie of Ryan Reynolds doing that. Yeah.
That's what I hate the most about this. Is that guy fucking ruined Deadpool for me.
And I feel like he is the same actor in every. There was a movie he did. I think it's called like Safe House or something. I think Denzel Washington's in it, and I did like that. I do like some of his serious roles, but he doesn't want to do that. He just wants to be quippy for the rest of his life. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot going on with Ryan Reynolds. I want to know in chat, you guys, if there was another Deadpool movie, and if you were a Deadpool fan, would you watch at this point in time? Would you watch the next movie? I'm curious how many people would say separate the art from the artist, and how many people would be like, no, absolutely not. I will not watch Ryan Reynolds or Blake Lively ever again. I want to know. So
yeah, I have seen that sentiment where people are like, I'm never watching anything Blake and Ryan do.
Yeah, I've seen both sides of it for sure.
Yeah.
I see a couple no's. No. Okay, lots of no's. Okay.
No.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up for tonight, unless you had something else you wanted to point out before we...
No, I'm excited that you're going to that hearing, though.
Yeah. Well, I'll be able to talk to you guys about it afterwards. I have to work while I'm out there, so I'll go to the hearing, I'll go back to my hotel, I'll work, and then I'll be able to stream afterwards, so it'll be cool.
That'll be... yeah, I mean, we'll see what they do. I'll see if they rule on anything. I have a feeling it's going to be something...
Nobody says about the stipulation, at least.
I don't think they can argue about the stipulation, because if they're conceding it, there's no fact issue for a jury.
Yeah.
So then, you don't get to say, well, no, I actually want to fight.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, Bocce finally figured out how to turn on her redirect privilege. So as soon as I end this stream, you guys are going to see a link pop up that takes you to Bocce's channel. Please tell her that I sent you, that Lauren sent you, and send lots of bacon emojis in the chat. And thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Sara, for being here. Yarn and Order is Sara's YouTube channel. The links are in the chat here, and I'll also post it in the comments for people who are watching our replay. So we'll see you guys later, though. Thanks for watching with us, and
have a good week. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.